Make America Great Again. I was asked the other night, when was America ever great? I can't pinpoint one exact time, but a few things are glaringly obvious to me. It was when a person had the freedom to speak without having every word dissected by the PC police, their every utterance and facial expression being placed under a microscope for biased examination. When outspoken people with an opinion are placed on the defensive like Mr. Trump has been, their valid points in the original context of their comments is ignored, and their intent is lost and dismissed. Passive-aggressive was unheard of when America was great. You knew where people stood and respected them because of it and sometimes despite it. It was when Americans produced and earned and could be proud of their accomplishments, proud of the way they could live their lives. It was when rape was rape, not non-consensual sex. Politically correct speech would have been recognized for exactly what it is, a form of brainwashing, where they take a term and dilute it and whitewash it to change the public's reaction by calling it something entirely different. It was when we were not taxed to the brink of financial ruin and one income could support a household and families could still afford vacations. It was when medical costs were not driven skyward by insurance fraud and people could afford to be sick. It was a time when the medical community was not obsessed by the all-powerful dollar, but rather in finding cures and healing folks. It was a time when we were not forced to pay by law to pay for health coverage with costs that have increased 60% in 1 year alone while giving us less coverage, or we will be fined. America was great when we had real freedom and we made our own choices. It was when social programs helped the needy, not the people perfectly capable of work. It was when we recognized our worth by the fruits of our labor, not by how much the government could give us using taxpayer money. It was when the 6 p.m. news was worth watching based on factual reporting and not stories tainted by opinion, backroom deals, greed, or fame. A time before the term spin. It was before the federal government grew so large as to have such influence and control over our state governments. It was when small businesses were encouraged, not taxed, licensed, and regulated to such excess, and people respected and supported the moms and pops. It was a time when criminals went to jail and you could walk the streets safely. It was a time when we understood that abortion is the murder of our most precious and innocent, and people were more responsible because we understood that actions have consequences. It was when we had the right to defend ourselves and our property without fear of being sued or imprisoned. It was when we had the right to live on our land and sustain ourselves without laws telling us we can't paint our door red or grow our own food or graze our cattle, and you didn't have to worry about being gunned down in the snow for doing so. It was when those who tried to do right were rewarded, not stepped all over by those doing wrong. It was when common sense meant you could communicate with someone of a differing opinion without fear and then go have a cup of coffee and a few laughs afterwards. It was when our police, politicians, and elected officials, those who were sworn to protect the citizens of this country, regardless of their backgrounds, faced the same laws and consequences that regular citizens do when they have done wrong. It was when illegal inhabitants of this country were not given a free ride while our country's vets live on the streets and die from lack of care. It was when you didn't wake up in the morning wondering why you're even trying because you just feel there's no hope. It was when the majority of the populace didn't need a mood-altering substance just to cope with their helplessness. There was accountability and real progress, farming, manufacturing, not safe spaces, and fascist bullies intimidating those practicing free speech and the right to peaceful assembly. It was a time when our Constitution had not been so diluted and amended and ruled on by those with seemingly good intentions, but lacking the foresight of the unintended consequences they created for our future. It was when common sense was respected, and a person wasn't judged by their college degree, but more on the value of their life's accomplishments and the merit of their character. There was pride in making sacrifices for the greater good. I believe Trump has a movement and a force of citizens believing much the way I do. This movement will happen whether Trump is elected president or not. It will shake up the corruption that has become the political norm. Their true colors are showing and eyes are opening. The cockroaches of our society in both political parties are scurrying for cover and doing what they do best, which is to make alliances and look after their own needs and wealth. They realize that while we the people are awakened, and we will not be silenced. We were once proud Americans. We could hold our heads high and raise our children to respect, love, and defend this great country. the blood, sweat, and tears of my ancestors who died and sacrificed for this country and our freedoms will continue to be honored despite those that live here and despise this nation and what it stands for. One of the few times I have ever agreed with President Obama, and the Washington Post for that matter, was when they accused Hillary of being a liar. She will say anything. Hillary Clinton will say anything to get elected and change nothing. What epiphany could they have had to justify being on her side now? The fact is, there is no time frame of when America was great. The reason we aren't quite as great as we used to be is that we have been deceived over time very slowly by each and every concession we let slip by us, deceived and betrayed by those we trusted in political office to defend our freedoms while they pilfered not only our coffers, but also our inalienable rights. We are worn and tired and weary and beaten. We witnessed the atrocities and crimes perpetrated by the very people who supported and wrote laws against such things for everyone else but them. They have no accountability and continue to lie, cheat, steal, commit treason, and hold themselves to a different standard than they hold the rest of American citizenry, and are well paid to do it. America's greatness is not a time period. It is a greatness that lives in the hearts and minds of her citizens. The winds of real change are upon us. God bless this great country.